Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another one! Another one!
Huge hole. He's at the 30. He's going to go. 10, 5, touchdown. Jonathan Taylor.
Galloway finds Rob Finnessy, who fires the three, and he hit it!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard. Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you. We've made it to the halfway point of the week. It is hump day, but it's always a great one. Bob Kravitz will be joining us from The Athletic, Cal Neddenriep from the Indy Star, and Rick Bozich, the Hall of Famer from WDRB.com. Looking forward to that. How are you doing? Incredible week weather-wise. Wow, it has been unbelievable. It's just awesome out there. So hope you're getting out and enjoying that, especially for July. It's like, what are we living in Southern California here? Humidity's down. It's just been incredible, but hope you're having a great one. And if not, we're going to get you headed in that direction. Hopefully. What's new with you? What's going on? Appreciate everybody. Dave G jumping on. Mike hates work conferences. Glad he's here right now. He can listen to us instead of listening to his work conference. There you go. That's always great. You can learn a lot more with us. We'll teach you something. But hope everything's going well. Looking forward to it. It is just an outstanding day. I wish I was outside playing golf this morning. I haven't played in over a week, but it's so nice. I wish I would get myself up even before the show and go play. That would be great. How about my Reds? I was laughing about them. They're in New York to play the Yankees. The Reds are one of the absolute worst teams in all of baseball, of course. Gee whiz. Phone is going nuts. But they're in the Bronx to play the Yankees. The Reds, one of the worst teams in baseball, playing the absolute best team in all of professional sports, to be honest with you. The Yankees are dominating Major League Baseball. And the Reds won last night. How crazy is that? They go into New York and they beat the Yankees in the Bronx. They won 4-3 was the score, but it doesn't even matter if it was 1-0 or 50-49. The fact that the Reds won. Oh my God, they play a 4-game series too. No, it's a 3-game series. But they win 4-3 last night in Yankee Stadium. I cannot believe that. They play again today at 7:05 and then tomorrow at 7:05. Then they head to St. Louis, if that's not bad enough, to take on your Cardinals. A lot of people's Cardinals. Jennifer's Cardinals. A lot of Cardinal fans. I would have been a Cardinal fan, like I said, if it was timing, man. It was all about timing. But unfortunately, I'm a Reds fan, and man, it's worse. I think it's worse than being a Cubs fan, because the Cubs eventually would go on to win a World Series. I don't see good things ahead for Cincinnati. The Reds did place Albert Almora Jr. on the injured list without a designation, whatever the heck that means. Recalled outfielder Stuart Fairchild. But yeah, I cannot believe. I didn't think they'd win a game up there. I talked about this yesterday. I didn't think that they'd win a game. How did they beat the Yankees? That they should have just put up the Moneyball sign, 114 million versus 29 cents or whatever the Reds are paying their salary, because it's not much. Steve jumping on, we appreciate you. That's why it's exactly right why they play the game. Yeah, we didn't talk about this. Samson James in the transfer portal again. That was last week. Let's see. Mike says he learns more here in 30 minutes than his conference than he does all week. I appreciate that, brother. Forrest is jumping on. Steve is here as well. Appreciate everybody in the fold. Nick Saban says mega conferences are here to stay. Oh, no kidding. Things don't usually go back. They're not making old ugly cars, are they? Yeah, things don't go back the way they used to be. It's move forward, change. And that change usually does not include changing back. So no, yes, I agree. Mega conferences are here to stay. I don't understand why that is big news for him to say that. Well, gee whiz, a 12-year-old can tell you that. It takes just common sense to know that. Of course they're here to stay. It's where the money is. It's where the money contracts will be signed. I mean, I don't know why we need Nick Saban telling us that mega conferences are here to stay. Of course they're here to stay. Gee whiz. That's where the money is going to be, baby. It's where the games are going to be, and it's where the football championship is going to be, more importantly. It won't be long before the college football champion comes from the Big Ten or the SEC. I truly believe that. Maybe a third conference, the Pac-12 and Big 12, because Oregon and Stanford, those schools, they're not going away. California schools, they're not going to go away, although USC and UCLA are in the Big Ten now. But it'll be curious to see what the rest of those do. Appreciate you, Chris. Join us. Chris, where are you from, brother? Jumping on the Andy Moore Honda hotline. Love to keep up. And Dave G, I don't know where you are from either. So there is a first watch down there. Cool. But yeah. Chris, yeah, appreciate you, brother. I have to find out where you're from. I always like to write down in the old book here when I see a new name where they're from. We got people from all over the place. My favorite's still, though, Vermont. Needs some syrup. Syrup from Vermont. That would be great. The Baltimore Orioles were on a 9-game winning streak. Only mention that because it's the longest since 1999 for them. And they beat the Cubs yesterday for the 9th straight. That's kind of like the Oakland A's in Moneyball, going on that run. Where are as far as this? Let's see. Oh yeah, standings. Where is Baltimore in dead last? Exactly. It's exactly like the Oakland A's in Moneyball. They're last, but they've won 9 out of their last 10 games, and 9 straight. Seattle, the Mariners have won 9 out of their last 10 games, but they're in second place behind the Astros. How about this? How would you like to be the Mariners? You're in second place in the AL West. You've won 9 out of your last 10 games. And you know what? How much game? They're 12 and a half games back. And you know how much ground they've gained in those last 10 games? 1 game. Because the Astros have gone 8-2 over that period. That's tough. When you go 9-1 and pick up 1 game, wow. Now the Orioles, they're 17 and a half games back. They're unfortunate because they are in the AL East behind the Yankees, who, like I said, they're having a year that's nuts. This is Murderer's Row. This is the Murderer's Row Yankees. This is the Yankees with Joe DiMaggio, man. This is those great names. Wow. When you look up and see 61-26, that's the New York Yankees of old. And they got beat by the Reds. But the Orioles are in the same division or the AL East. And so going 9-1 doesn't do jack for them. They can go 30-1 and not sure they could make the playoffs. But looking forward to getting everybody on board today. Bill wanted to say Pekin had 2 players he knows of, went to Division I schools. Mark Temple went to New Mexico State, and Steve Graves went to University of Alabama, Huntsville back in the 70s. Maybe that's a conversation that's going on. But that is shocking. Pekin is a school. It's a dot. If you're not familiar with it, which most of you will not be, because it's way down in southern Indiana, southeast of Bloomington, just south of Salem, Indiana. If you are familiar with that. We've got to take a break. Great show coming up. How about those Yankees? That's right, Robert. Great show coming up. Bob Kravitz from The Athletic. He's got a great story out right now and about Indiana basketball returning to the old form. Cal Neddenriep from Indy Star is going to be with us. Rick Bozich along from the Hall of Fame writer from WDRB.com as well. Looking forward to it, man. Appreciate everybody joining us already. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our great friends from Andy Moore Honda, the #1 Honda dealer in all of Bloomington, and our good friends at the WOW Network. Make sure you go and sign up. You can do so right on your phone. It's free. Go to your Apple App Store or Google Play Store. Start earning WOW rewards today. WOW Club members earn exclusive discounts, dining dollars to spend, and more sent directly to your phone. Sign up today. We've got lots more coming up, and we'll be back with it from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting Bloomington or a cut.
Hey, Jim, just wanted to remind you that Bob Kravitz is not going to be here today. He's on vacation. I texted you before the show. I don't know if you saw it.
No, but I don't know where my phone went, so I was just looking for it.
Okay.
Well, obviously, no, I did not. Shit. Where the fuck is my phone? I thought I just had it. How did I not have my phone? Oh, it fell. I had my phone. I didn't know it. Well, crap. Crappets. Damn, I wish I'd have known that in advance. Shit. Well, shit. What? All right, let's see. Let's make this next one a short segment and bring Kyle on early.
Okay.
What time's he normally? What's Kyle supposed to come on? Fuck.
Kyle's slot is 9:10. So if he could come on at 9, we might be able to do that, or 9:05 even.
We've got to get him out by 9:30 today. Damn, I didn't know Bob wasn't here. Jason.
So are we doing a short segment or just keeping it the same?
Probably keep it the same.
Okay. 30 seconds.
It's free. You can also find full episodes of Indiana Sports Beat Radio on the homepage or on the station every week, Monday through Friday. If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. I hope you're having a great day. If not, we're going to help you have that. Bob Kravitz, normally with us on this Wednesday. He's on vacation. Daggone it. I didn't know that. I wish I was on vacation. Everybody's on vacation. Let's see. Kevin Brockway's on vacation, but next week is his last week. If you haven't seen, he is Kevin going back to Florida, man. He got a job with the Gainesville, I think it's Gainesville Sun, to cover the Florida Gators again. So he's going to go back to cover the hapless Florida Gators. They're not very good in sports anymore, but I will say that living in Gainesville is probably a little bit better than living in Bloomington. I am not going to lie. But had Bob Kravitz been with us, we would have gotten to talk about his article that he has out right now at The Athletic, titled "Indiana Post Bobby Knight. After years of struggle, do the Hoosiers have their man?" And talking about Mike Woodson. And it's a great article. I wish he was here to talk about it, and we'll do it next week. But he spoke to a lot of former players, people like, and I'm in a big swing too. I mean, Jared Jeffries, Brian Evans, Joe Hillman, Dean Garrett. That's some of the things that were said. Jared Jeffries, we've lived off of "We're Indiana" for years, but most of the young talent coming out now, they don't remember any of that. They weren't alive the last time we won a national championship. That's true. Brian Evans, Jared Jeffries was an IU forward from 2000 to 2002. Of course, was on the last Final Four team for Indiana. Went to the championship game against Maryland after beating Kelvin Sampson and his Oklahoma team in 2002. But Brian Evans said, "We like to believe we're blue bloods, but let's be honest, we're not blue bloods and haven't been for a long time. And it honestly bothers me that we're not." Joe Hillman. And I love Joe Hillman. I love having him on the post-game shows. And the reason is because he's a California guy. He's from California. He did not grow up an Indiana kid. Did not grow up with all that being, heaped upon him. But he is as much of an Indiana kid as he might as well been born here and lived here since he was, walking. Because is there anybody that seems more like an Indiana kid than Joe Hillman? But he sounds like he's been here his entire life. They did everything with an eye towards getting away from the things that Bob Knight was about. This is from Joe Hillman. Style of play, a demand of excellence, a pride in what was going on, and the mental toughness and ability to overcome things. Dean Garrett, who joins us on the postgame show quite often, says, "For so long, we've been trying to stay away from anybody who had anything to do with Coach Knight." And that's a fact. They purposely stayed away from people that were Bob Knight affiliated. And that was a horrific mistake. A horrific mistake. And you know who the people are that did that, but that's administratively. Regardless, let's see. Dean Garrett, that was Joe Hillman that said that. And then right after that, this is Dean Garrett. He lives in Las Vegas. He doesn't live by Joe. He didn't talk to Joe. He says after Joe said they did everything with an eye towards getting away from what Bob Knight was about, Dean Garrett said, "For so long, we've been trying to stay away from anybody who had anything to do with Coach Knight." It's a fact. I mean, I don't know if you all know this, but that was a they purposely went in directions away from Bob Knight. I'm talking about the IU administration who hired people. You put the names with it. I don't even have to do that. Jeffries said Knight was always very sour on how everything went down. Well, yes, but that was never going to change. Bob Knight was not leaving. I don't think Bob Knight would have left in any way different than, say, Trump left the White House. He's not, because he's someone who doesn't see his own faults, which he's definitely not a perfect individual. But here, I love what Mike Davis had to say. IU is unique. It really is, because of how much the people love it. Fans are obsessed with the program. I miss the fans, the crowds. I can remember with Coach Knight, we'd be at a hotel and it was packed. Fans in the lobby, everybody wearing red. It was like being a rock star. That's coming from a current Division I head coach. That's coming from a coach who went to the Final Four, no less. Jared Jeffrey says, "I was committed to Coach Knight. When they fired him 2 weeks into my freshman year, I never considered leaving because I was close to being an NBA prospect, so I saw no value in leaving and having to sit out a year. There were guys who were going to leave, or at least they talked about it, but I think bringing Mike in gave everyone a reason to stick it out." Joe Hillman says Knight wasn't happy that Mike took that job, but it wasn't his fault. Exactly. What's Mike supposed to do? Not take the job? Exactly. Are you crazy? Of course he's taking it. Screw that. Coach Knight is probably still mad at Mike, but what's he supposed to do? Exactly. That's again why I love Joe Hillman. Common sense. He can just speak in any direction, and it's common sense, of course. Jared Jeffrey says, "The way I see it, he was the best coach at Indiana since Coach Knight, and a lot of people don't even give him credit for that." He's talking about Mike Davis. They can say whatever they want. He did it with Coach Knight's players, but he still put a system in place that was different from Coach Knight, and he got us to the title game. That's pretty impressive. So for everybody that thinks that Mike Davis only got to the championship game because of Knight's players, first of all, Knight didn't recruit. Who do you think did the recruiting? And recruiting was different back then. It wasn't like it is today. Indiana did not, or I don't know in schools in general back then, but now you go look at the offers. How many offers are out there? What there's like, I don't know, 12, 14. I'll have to pull up how many offers are currently out for the next season, but way more than what's going to be available scholarship wise. That's not how it was back in the day. Knight, he offered you accepted or you didn't. It was pretty simple. There was no thinking about it, which I love that. But yeah, that was way different back in the day. But Mike Davis said his biggest challenge was just recruiting, because there was always this talk that I wasn't going to be there very long. So if you're a parent, it's hard to give your son to someone who people are saying isn't going to be there. Even when he got the head coaching job, it was every year word on the street that he wasn't going to stay long. So it was hard for him to recruit a high level player. Our tradition was great, but the landscape of basketball changed to where kids want upgraded stuff. The facilities are great now, but when we were there, we couldn't compete for certain recruits. If you're asking me why we fell behind, that was a big part of it. I haven't heard that before. And after going 21-13 as the interim coach and 25-12 during the season when IU reached the NCAA title game, Davis's team struggled going 14-15, 15-14, and 19-12. It was time for a change after that. And Mike Davis said, I wasn't a proven coach. The older you get, you start to realize all the mistakes I made that wouldn't have been made by a proven coach. A lot of the distractions I had, they wouldn't have been distractions to a proven coach. So it wasn't that I wasn't accepted. I was just inexperienced. It wasn't the basketball. It was just everything else that came with it. And every mistake I made in front of everybody. And Mike Davis, he's been joined us on the show before. You got to love him. I mean, you truly got to, you do. I mean, you talk about a man who was put in one of the most enviable positions. Who the hell's going to follow Bob Knight when Bob Knight was fired? Following Bob Knight after he retires would have been hard enough. But who's going to follow Bob Knight after he's fired? Are you kidding me? You're screwed. You're absolutely screwed. Half the fans hate you from the start, and it has nothing to do with you. There you go. Lil Rhodey. Jennifer says, then we really fell behind. Lil Rhodey, my man, Lil Rhodey. Somebody's got to create a character of this, man. I've given you the name. I've given you the juice to this. Somebody's got to create a character for Lil Rhodey. What's up, Lil Rhodey? I can see like, what's up, Lil Rhodey? Come play for the Lil Rhodies. Rhodey Rams. Are they the Rams? Rhode Island Rams? Are there Rams in Rhode Island? But that's a great piece that Bob has. It really is. It just, these conversations with these guys, it's what we try to do, but when it's in the written form, it's different. But yeah, I just love these. And Brian Evans is another guy. He's somebody, he's going to tell you like it is. He joins us quite frequently on the post-game show. And it's funny. I mean, these guys, they don't, let's see, where's Brian Evans? They talk about every coach. They talk, excuse me. Everything. Mike Davis said, I never felt, talking about the race, and what's had said he never felt that. It's really some great stuff in here. Jared Jeffrey says, I'm sure Mike wouldn't say anything about it, but listen, that was a different era. I remember when we from Bloomington North High School played a game in Martinsville. They had, wow. Really? Yikes. Mike Davis said, I never felt the race part. I mean, they'd call the office all the time, but they call no matter who the coach was. My problem was when I read or heard something negative, I took it to heart. I shouldn't have, but I did. It was just really hard for me to stay focused. You name it. I was distracted by it. I got paranoid after a while. You have to, I truly love Mike Davis for the fact that he has always been so open and honest about his time in Indiana. And he loves Indiana. He still does. And I think the fans have done a great job in showing their appreciation back to him. That guy was in, I'm telling you, the most unenviable positions in the history of coaching. One of the most, I mean, who the hell is going to follow Bob Knight after he's been fired? Man. But, and then I use next coach, Kelvin Sampson. They kind of skip over the Dan Dockage part. Brian Evans, his words, stunned, absolutely stunned by that hire. Joe Hillman, Kelvin was a bad hire, a really bad hire. Brian Evans says, I know John Calipari, listen to this. John Calipari, who was then at Memphis, wanted the job really bad. This is Brian Evans saying this. I played for John Calipari in New Jersey. He reached out to me. So the AD, Rick Greenspan, invited me to come down and talk to him. Brian comes down to Greenspan. Greenspan's not here. So he got pulled into another meeting. Finally, he comes in and says, what kinds of qualities should we be looking for in a coach? That's the question. I started telling him about Calipari, and he leaned forward and he said, in no way, shape, or form am I soliciting names from you. I got my gas money and left. We got to take a break. Cal Neddenriep's joining us next, but man, this is a blast. We'll get back to that more, but coming up next, Cal Neddenriep from Indy Star is going to join us. Brought to you by our good friends at Metalworks Brewing Company, located just off the square. It's the former Function Brewery, just off the northeast side of the square in Bloomington, and they'll be you'll be able to get those beverages all over the place soon, as they'll be gone, and they're a part of the Wild Club. So go to the Apple App Store, Google Play, and join. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
The sun is out, the birds are chirping, and the fair.
Hey, Jim. Also, John just let me know that Dylan Sinn can be available to co-host today, so I think he's going to be jumping in.
Oh, there's Dylan. How are you, brother? Wait. Well, damn it. Hey, Dylan. How you doing? I don't think we can hear you.
Yeah. Dylan, can you jump out for a second and hop back in? We can't hear you.
Yeah. Cannot hear you, bro.
Yep.
There you go. Lil Rody. Justin, how you doing, my man? Justin Beard, where are you from, brother? I don't remember seeing that name. All right, I don't say last names on air, but Dave Gutzweiler, Tom Wright, Daniel Sigrich, Chris Jackson. I don't know where you guys are from. I like to put it in my book. John, I don't know where you're from. Man. Philip Shanks, Jacob Weirs.
Yep. Still can't hear you, Dylan.
Good. How about now?
Yes. Yes.
All right. Great.
There you go. What'd you do different?
I went to settings and I pressed, I went to audio and I changed it from default to microphone.
That's the deal, brother. And you sound so good with those headphones on.
Oh, there we go.
How are you doing?
I'm not bad. I'm sorry I wasn't on earlier. For some reason, the link didn't come to my email, so they had to resend it. I apologize for that.
Don't worry. It didn't come to mine either.
Oh, all right then. There we go.
Yeah, that's on me.
Justin is from Linville.
What have we talked about so far?
Actually, I was just talking about Bob Kravitz's article in The Athletic, which is awesome. And the funny thing is, it's not an article. It's basically just quotes, but they're set up from Brian Evans, Joe Hillman, Dean Garrett, and Jared Jeffries about the coaching switch through the years. But but now we've got the great Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star joining us. How are you, sir?
Good. How are you guys?
Good. We got to get him out by 9:30. FYI.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indy Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Wednesday. We've got you through halfway through the week, and we're going to send you into the weekend. Kyle Neddenriep of the Indy Star and Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette joins us now. Kyle, how are you, my brother?
Hey, real good. How are you guys doing?
Good. Dylan with us as well. Not that this is what I'm going to talk about, but a quick little baseball note. The Reds are in the Bronx playing the Yankees, which means they should lose 30-0 every night. They beat the Yankees last night. I'm like, what is wrong with the Yankees? It's crazy. How do the Yankees lose ever to the Reds? That's nuts. But they'll probably beat them 50-0 tonight just to make up for that game last night.
Are the Yankees still tearing it up? I'm assuming they are.
Oh my God, it's unbelievable. They are on par to win, like, I forget, 100 and it's like 115 games, I think.
Yeah, as of yesterday, it was 115 games.
and in the record 116.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, they're tearing it up.
Isn't it that they haven't won a World? How long has it been since they've won a World Series? It's been what, 2000?
2009.
Oh, 9. That's right.
They won one when A-Rod was there. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm like, how do they not? But they haven't. And but man, oh man, this is like murder. I was talking earlier. This is like the murderer's row Yankees. This is the Joe DiMaggio Yankees. This is those great teams, man. This is a kind of season that they're having, which is nuts.
It's funny when I was growing up, in the 80s. Probably you too, Jim. I don't know how old you are, but when you're in the 80s, they weren't really that. They were sort of overpriced and underperforming. And then in the 90s,
were a regular team. Yeah, they were a regular team.
Yeah. And then in the 90s when they got good, when they beat the Cardinals in the what was that, 96, I think it was. And they were sort of at a, I kind of liked that team. And then they got really good. And then it was like, oh man, it's not fun anymore in the late 90s. But But yeah, they weren't even like they weren't really a premier team when I was growing up, which sounds weird now to think about.
Yeah, it was a big difference, but that's back when baseball was fun, though. That's back when the Reds could actually compete and would compete. Those days are long gone. But you had a great piece out yesterday, and I'm trying to find it because I read it. And what was it about? I've already forgotten.
It was very memorable. Clearly, it was.
Well, dude, you know how much I read way too much stuff every day. But when something sticks out, I'm like, oh, that's a great piece, and that I just read. But it was
that
yesterday's.
the Landis Sims story with the kid that had.
Oh yes! Oh, incredible! Yeah. From down in Harrison County in southern Indiana. I went to Floyd Central down Floyd County, but Harrison County is right next to Floyd County down there. But what an incredible story that is. I mean, you talk about perseverance, and wow. If you haven't, you need to go to the Indy Star and read this story that Kyle has out. This kid is there. I mean, you have to be motivated beyond motivated to accomplish what this dude has accomplished.
Yeah, a little bit of background on that. He was, this documentary came out about him this week, basically, and they sent me. I did a story on Landis probably a year and a half ago. We went down to, and I'd actually heard about this kid from a referee friend of mine. Said, "Hey, I did this game down in." I don't think it was a friend of mine even. He just said he was a referee. Emailed me and said, "Hey, I did this game, JV baseball or a basketball game." And there was this kid that had prosthetic legs and, no hands, and he played in the game, and it's like, wow. So we went down there. Michael McEldowney and our photographer, did this, basically kind of followed him around for a day. It was did a story more about his basketball playing, but come to find out, Eric Cochran, this the guy who does documentaries on in California, and he'd been following Landis around for like 8 years, and so he, I ended up talking to him. The movie came out this week, and it's on. They sent me a link so I could watch it ahead of time, but it's really story of perseverance, and there's definitely some laughs in the movie. It's about 90 minutes long. It's really good. They did a great job of kind of going behind the scenes with him. And a big part of it is the improvement in his prosthetics. Kind of the end goal for this movie was, Landis getting a chance to play for his high school baseball team. That was kind of the goal of his all along. So they followed that journey. That was the sort of the end of the story. And I won't give away what happened there, but, and he's still in high school at South Central in Elizabeth, like you said, rural school, kind of on the Ohio River there. But he's, so he ends up, that's the end of the movie, but it does a great job kind of showing how not only his journey, but how the prosthetics improve throughout to kind of allow him to even be able to try to play baseball. Because obviously with no hands and no legs, I mean, there's a lot of things that have to help him along the way. So he's a great kid. His mom is absolutely phenomenal too. Talking to her, she's been a big help. As far as when I did the original story and then again here recently, but and Eric Cochran did a great job. I thought, kind of, they even had like old home videos from when he was really little and interviews with his grandfather who's since passed away. And, it's just really good stuff. I mean, it's really emotional type of a message. And, he's getting a chance. I think he threw out the first pitch at Yankee Stadium. He's throwing out the first
last night. That's
Yeah,
why the Reds won, baby. That's why the Reds won.
He went to I think he's in San Diego tonight or tomorrow night. He's going to
Goes up to San Francisco. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, so he's going some different places, but yeah, so it's really cool. Joe Musgrove, who pitches for the Padres, is part of this movie too. He helped him sort of along the way. They became friends. He texts with him all the time. So Landis is really, he's very mature, I would say, for his age. He's got to experience a lot of things probably other kids haven't, but obviously is fighting a lot of different things that most kids can't even imagine. So it's really cool. I mean, he's a great kid. I mean, he really is. And to be able to tell his little bit of his story was fun for me, and to watch the movie was just incredible.
Talk about his ability to hit. I mean, this is a guy who has as he just described, and can hit.
Yeah, and one of the parts of the movie I think kind of shows how that's possible. The problem he had, he could always hold a bat. He could kind of hold it in the inside. He's a left-handed hitter, so the inside pitches he didn't really have a problem with. And he's got a very natural, that kind of that lefty swing that's natural. And you have to kind of watch it to see what I'm talking about, but. He's just a natural hitter, and they show him when he's little, like real little, just scooting around and swinging a bat along the ground. And he's just, he's very natural with that, but they needed help like for the outside pitches and to extend as far as he can. They had to kind of create a, something where he could hold the bat a little bit better and get extension on his swing. And they were sort of able to figure that out for him. So, that was sort of a game changer too. And you'll see in the movie when you watch it, I mean, how that comes to be, but yeah, he's just, and he works at it, he really does, like anybody has to, him probably 20-fold, he really works at it. He'll put the time in, to make himself better. And, the throwing part is obviously that's another problem that he had, and fielding and movement and side to side, but basically he's sort of hitting sort of his thing, and he does that really well. So that's kind of that's the crux really of the whole process is his hitting. But, he's figured out ways to throw the ball too, which is really fun. It'll kind of take you inside that a little bit too. But yeah, his hitting is really where it's at. I mean, it's really remarkable how he can hit the ball.
And I guarantee he could probably hit better than I could. And it is amazing. But that shows you what determination does. And he's clearly a determined kid. I mean, you talk about his maturity. Well, obviously he's been forced to mature beyond most of us could ever dream of. So, but yeah, it's just a great story. Go read the article. But also it's a documentary that's available, wide release too. I mean, it's on all the different streaming sources, whether like Prime. I know I'm going to be able to watch it on Prime because I saw it's on Prime. It's on Apple. It's on basically everything, I think, right?
Yeah, I'd have to go back. The two you mentioned, I know for sure, and then I think other places as well. They did a private screening down in, I think, Jeffersonville the other night. But yeah, so that, and I was lucky enough they sent me a link to watch it, and I could watch it that way. But yeah, it'll be on all the major streaming services, and it's really. I would really definitely recommend it. I'm not just saying that because I know him, but I just really like the message and the stuff Eric did, you too, to gather all that. That took I mean, you're playing the long game. You're talking about, and he's like, talking to him on the phone, or we did a Zoom call the other day, and he's like, I had to figure out where the story would end because I could have just kept doing this forever, and so and it was 8 years. It was 8 years of working on this. So, talk about playing the long game. I mean, this is not a quick turn type of story. So, that credit to him too for having the vision. He just happened to see this kid at a Wounded Warriors softball game out in Landis. I think was 8 years old at that time. So, he had that vision, and then he got to know the family and it became the vision. So credit to him too for sticking that out. And, I know he's not making money hand over fist with this. So that was really a kind of a visionary type of a situation too, for him to get involved and do that.
Yeah. I remember reading in your story, wherever he was that he saw Landis, that he was there. Like you said, it took all of 90 seconds and I knew it was like, boom, he saw this kid. But yeah, obviously he sounds like a very, very special kid, and special stands out a lot. So great story though. And make sure you go to the Indy Star and read that story by Kyle. It's awesome, but all his stuff is great. Not that this wasn't your story, but I saw the old high school gym that's been turned into a house. I think Dana wrote that story, but I forget where that was. Wilkinson, the old Wilkinson High School gym's been turned into a house.
And you can buy it for $250,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that Wilkinson was
not a great looker from the outside, I'll tell you that. But
I've actually been there. I did when I did my old gyms project years ago. I stopped there. I'd heard that was and I think the school part was still around at that time. It had it had part of the school with it, and they tore that part down. So but now it's or at least part of the school anyway. But yeah, I was inside that, and it's the old Eastern Hancock. I think their original when Eastern Hancock opened that high school. And it's really neat. I mean, they've obviously built the house around the gym, and the gym is still there. But when I did a book, I think 12 years ago, Mark Titus actually, nice enough of him he tweeted out the other day that that's one of his favorite coffee table books. And I'm always surprised people are still commenting on that. It makes me feel good, but all these years later. But that was one of the gyms I visited, one of the people I visited, and sure enough, it's up for sale. And there's other places there's one up the road from us up in Fayette that people lived in the stage part of it, and that one I think is still for sale. And the gym was like a storage area, but the basket is still one of the baskets is still up there. So there's others around the state. People just don't know. When they come viral like that, then people find out. But there's a lot of others that are similar that way.
I bet, because of all the consolidations, and ironically, this particular gym, Wilkinson, is located, I don't know how many miles it is, but it can't be far from Knightstown. So the Hoosier Gym is just down the road. It's northeast of Indianapolis. Looks like about, 30 minutes thereabouts. But it's not too far from the Hoosier Gym.
No, like I said, it's Eastern Hancock, which, I think butts up pretty close to Knightstown there, so it's not far away at all. But yeah, like I said, there's a lot of those places that you probably wouldn't even know they're there unless a story like this goes viral like it does. So, but yeah, I mean, there's less of them than there used to be. These places, even in the last 12 years since I did the book, there's some of them have been torn down, and and like the Hope Gym, wrote about that back in the spring. That caught on fire, and I'm sure will be either just torn down or sitting crumbling for the next several years. But that's the sad part of it is, and it's hard to renovate these places. It costs money to pour into them, and then what are you going to do? How are you going to make money off of them? It's hard to find a purpose for them sometimes, unfortunately. So in these towns, a lot of them are kind of dying anyway. So there's not a lot of money flowing through these places anymore.
Well, we got to get you out of here today. Kyle's got a meeting to get to, and we don't want to make him late. But thank you very much. Make sure you give him a follow at the Indy Star and be a subscriber. I am. Kyle's got nothing but great stuff up, brother. Appreciate you as always.
All right. See you, Jim. See you, Dylan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kyle.
Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star. We got to get him out of here so he can head off to his meetings. Dylan Sinn is with us. We've got more coming up that we'll be talking about. Right after this, brought to you by our good friends from Barbara Pop Realty Services down in Southern Indiana, serving Southern Indiana for over 3 decades. If you're looking for a home in the Louisville, Floyd, Clark, Harrison County areas, all down through there, reach out to Matt Lincoln, Matt at barbarapop.com, and they'll get you taken care of. We're back with Dylan Sinn and more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting Bloomington or a Cutter. Hello. Oh, that's funny. There's a picture of this Wilkinson. I pulled up that Wilkinson gym with a Starsky and Hutch car in the yard. Let's have a cup of coffee. How you been, Dylan?
I've been okay. How have you been, Jim?
Cannot complain, brother.
All right.
What's new with you?
Oh, nothing much. I'm still in the middle of baseball season, so not a whole lot's changed. They're struggling a little bit this year, but they're hopefully going to turn it around here in the last couple months of the season and football starts pretty soon anyway, so we're having media day next week, and then after that we'll start preseason stuff as well. So we're getting there pretty quickly.
What days is Big Ten Media Day on?
Was the 25th and 26th, so that would be Monday and Tuesday.
$30 seconds.
HRVs and pilots. See dealer for financing deals. Andy Moore Honda, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Wednesday with our good friend Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette. What's new with you, brother?
Not a whole lot. I'm still doing baseball season with the Fort Wayne Tin Caps here, and we're getting toward, they're in the second half now, so we're getting toward near the end of that. And still plenty of baseball left. And then, of course, we have football starting here, and sooner than we think, as it's 85 degrees out, but we will have Big Ten Media Days here in less than 2 weeks. So I saw Big 12 Media Days started today. So, we're getting into what they call talking season.
Is this the last Big 12 Media Days?
I don't believe so. This is it's the last Big 12 Media Days, probably with Texas and Oklahoma, but the conference will continue on.
Somebody's got to go. The Pac-12 or the Big 12. One of those has to go. They cannot continue, I don't think, they don't have, neither conference has the star power.
No. The Big 12 did a good job of kind of repositioning itself as kind of a middle tier league. They added 4 of the best teams from the group of 5 with Houston, UCF, BYU, and one other that's escaping me at the moment. But it's kind of a stopgap measure because they have the 8 teams that were in besides Oklahoma and Texas. They have those 4. So now they're back at 12. People forget the Big 12 had 10 teams for a while, and they're in a decent position right now. But the question is now what happens between them and the Pac-12. There have been some rumors about, they could do a merger of some kind. They have an East and a West division. The Big 12 could take a whole bunch of more Pac-12 teams, and there's time to figure that all out because Texas and Oklahoma aren't leaving until either next season or the season after. They could still be there for 2 more years, theoretically. The USC and UCLA aren't leaving until 2024, so we still have a couple of years there. So there's time to figure this out, but these leagues right now are on the defensive, I think is the best way to put it, as the Big 12 and the Big 10 and the SEC kind of gobble up more and more real estate.
The NBA's made a change in the league rules, the take foul, in which the defender does not make a play on the ball. I'm not. Are you familiar with this rule change?
No, I don't think so.
I'm not either, really. So shouldn't be talking about it too much because it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I'll have to figure that out later. But the NBA and the NBPA, the National Basketball Players Association, now announced a new program jointly funded to provide payments to approximately 115 ABA players who played at least 3 seasons but didn't qualify for NBA pensions. They'll get recognition payments of $3,828 per year of service.
Okay.
So
That's,
if they played 3 years, they're going to get 10 grand.
That is a blast from the past. Some of those ABA guys getting some recognition here in 2022. That's what, 40 years or 45 years after the ABA merged with the NBA? Because I think it was 1976 that they merged together.
Yeah, I would say, can I get that back payment? Buddy, that would add up. Now, you talk about a number, back payment would add up. But $10,000 a year for some of these guys is going to be needed. These guys, they're not rich, man. They didn't grow up in the days where everybody was making all this kind of money. It's nuts. And basketball's gotten it's out of control. I've seen these rookie max deals. I'm like, this is stupid money that they're talking about. It's beyond stupid money.
Well, it's interesting because the new CBA changed it. The salary cap is generally similar to what it was before. It's just now the max contracts take up more of the salary cap. But it's interesting because basketball, you could argue that those guys, they're worth it because one player affects a basketball team so much, right? Like LeBron is probably underpaid or was 4 years ago relative to what the value he brings to a team. He's only taken up 25% of the team's salary cap. It's probably a pretty good deal if you can get it for a max salary. But that's the thing with these contracts now is that you have guys who have made an impact on their team. Like the rookie max deal is for guys who they've played 4 years in the league or 3 years, 3 or 4. And it's guys who are obviously already stars. So Zion signed one, Ja Morant signed one, and those guys, they affect the team immediately. Now, it's something you have to earn. I kind of like that, actually. It's something that you have to go out there and earn over the first 4 years of your career.
Let's see. Also, the Dizzy Runs is going on. Down for you, up for me, up in Indianapolis, without the IU players, of course, but it's still going to be a great event. I did see someone mentioned earlier, Nate Childress scored 17 points. Joey Brunk, let's see, let me go back and I'll find that Nate Childress one. I should have marked that, but there you go. Boom. I got to it. And then Joey Brunk played as well, I believe. One team scored 152 points. Yeah, not a lot of defense probably being scored in this thing, but just something fun to do. Kyle Guy is going to be with us next Monday, who has put this all together. And Kyler Staley's got a good story on him in at the Hoosier.com you can read as well. But it's so funny, Dylan. Yes, Monday we were talking about the Dizzy Runs, and I'm like shaking my heads on. I cannot imagine, and this is when the IU players were playing it. And I said, "There's no way." I said, "I cannot believe this. I'm shocked that they're allowed to play in this thing." And then the next thing you know, buddy, that ain't happening.
No.
So I've been apologizing all week for the IU players not playing in this event because I made such a beef about it, which I'm just actually pretending that it was me. It wasn't. I'm just pretending, folks.
Yeah.
But
Jim doesn't have that kind of power, although we all wish he did.
Yes, we all wish we had that kind of power. But I was like, I can't believe this. What was announced.
What was your reasoning for that? Because you thought they'd get you risk of injury and all that?
Just because of how coaches are. And I use the example of the Davis kid from up in your area who Seton Hall would not allow to play on the Indiana All-Star game because, oh no, you got to come here this week. BS! That's a bunch of crap. But I was like shocked at, and then you add the element of pro players. So I'm like, wow. So they can just go play against pro players while they're in college and all this. I'm like, everything is changing. And then boop, damn, that got shut down quickly. But is Nate Childers still on? He's not a scholarship player, so
he's not a scholarship player. I don't know if he's still on the roster. He might have graduated.
I didn't think he was still on the roster. I didn't pull that up, but I don't.
He is apparently still. He was only a redshirt junior last year, redshirt sophomore last year.
Oh well, he's got that COVID year on top of that.
Exactly. So
yeah, but he's not a scholarship player. So not to make it sound bad, but they don't care about walk-ons.
he is currently still on the roster. Yes, he will be a redshirt junior in the fall out of Zionsville.
They're a walk-on, man.
Yep.
There's people waiting to take his place. I don't mean that in any negative way towards Nate, but that's just the deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't wait to get up there and see that though. I'm looking forward to going up and watching, and there's a lot of different people in this thing. It's just kind of a cool deal to see that, and this could grow to become something big.
Yeah, it's a really interesting idea that they have kind of put together here. It's something to, obviously this is the time of the year where we're well past transfer portal season. We're well past anything resembling actual action on the court or even on the football field. And so we're kind of desperate for any kind of sports right now other than baseball. And so this is kind of something to fill the summer months, right? You have guys getting together and playing high-level basketball, though, as you said, the defense is not particularly high level. But you have guys out there having some fun with it, playing high-level basketball. It's in Indianapolis, so, of course, people are going to be excited about it. And it's something to get you through the summer. I think that anything you can do for that is always fun. And it's not just because it provided content for us to talk about today. That's not what I'm saying. But it did provide content for us to talk about today.
I have a great TBT idea.
Sure.
Everybody wants an IU TBT team, and that just doesn't seem like that's going to happen anytime soon. They've tried, and it's IU guys are either playing ball or whatever. I think there should be an Indiana TB team, but state.
Sure.
Just Kyle Guy, whomever you can get from, from Indiana, just guys that are from Indiana. They would kick the crap out of people.
So
that would be a damn all-star team.
It would. The problem is you already have the Purdue TBT team, right?
Nobody cares about Purdue. That ain't I said an Indiana basketball team, man.
Right, but they already have that team set up, so you'd be losing some good players that wouldn't be able to play for you.
Nah.
Yeah.
I'll take the rest of the state against Purdue all day and twice on Sunday.
Yeah.
All day and twice on Sunday. Especially when you're not looking at currently, but
sure.
We need there should be more there needs to be a TBT team. I'm going to continue to work on that harder and harder. I love the TBT. And we see guys like Mo Creek who plays for Sideline Cancer, and but there's not, and he didn't even finish at IU. There's not an IU guy that plays in it, is there?
Not that I know of off the top of my head. I'm sure guys have gotten offers and maybe played in past years, but I can't think of one off the top of my head.
Well, that we need to make that happen. So I'm gonna start working on Kyle Guy's going to be on Monday. So I'm going to pitch that idea to him. He's got the connections. He knows everybody. He knows who's available to play and who's not. And I think he's obviously available to play right now. And that's the kind of guy you have to have, someone who's within, a couple years, a few years of college, or they're still actively playing in another league someplace that their time is open. And that's the problem, is getting guys that are available. But I think the European leagues are done by the time the TBT rolls around. I think that they purposely schedule it like that so they can get those guys. But Dylan, we got to get on that, man. We've got to get a TBT team. When does the TBT start?
That's usually later in July or August is when they've done it in the past. They
Just
were
like
thinking
the
of,
Little League All-Star game. I mean,
yes. Well,
the Little League World Series, rather.
Yes. It actually apparently starts on Friday. So, or on Saturday, I should say. I apologize.
TBT, baby.
Yes.
You know what? I have to get Mo Creek on Thursday. I have to reach out to Mo and see if I can get him on Thursday. See if they're ready to go. See what that's up like.
Yeah. So the championship is August 2nd in Dayton this year. So right around the corner. You get Gabe Cups out there as a celebrity appearance.
That's a nice little arena.
It is. I enjoyed covering the first four there. It gets loud in there because the arena is shaped in such a way that it feels like the fans are kind of over the top of the court, and it gets really, really loud if you have a good crowd there, which Indiana did when they played Wyoming.
It's kind of like one of Indiana's good high school gyms, but bigger, just a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
It probably held, I don't know, what do you think that place held? 9,000?
I thought it was 10 somewhere in there was going to be my guess. So yeah.
Yeah, so a little bit bigger than one of the good Southport type gyms. But the only thing I hated was to get to the floor, you literally walked on a ramp from what would be the mezzanine all the way down, because it was a long way down, which that was the easy part. It was coming back up that damn thing.
That was a calf workout and a half in that.
Buddy, I'm telling you. Yeah, it was that was something. But my old buddy Lil Rhodey, that's where he used to run his ways. But
according to the Never Wrong Wikipedia, it is 13,000 at that arena.
Wow.
So
not a bad old spot. We got to take a break. Rick Bozich from WDRB.com is going to join us. As always, cannot wait for the Hall of Famer. Dylan Sinn from Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette's with us. Brought to you by our good friends at School Courier, all part of the WOW Network. Go to the WOW Network and sign up at your Apple App Store or Google Play Store. Start earning WOW rewards today. Exclusive discounts, dining dollars to spend, and more sent directly to your phone. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's number.
Hello, Ricky B. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you guys? Hi, Dylan.
Good. Hi, Rick.
The White Sox have won one game in a row.
There are so many. I'll send you if you want to watch it. There was like a 4-minute rant by Ozzie Guillen on the post-game show yesterday about how bad the White Sox are and calling out Tony La Russa, which only he can do. It was really good. It was.
I cannot wait to see that because there's nothing better than an Ozzie Guillen rant.
You can understand about 71% of it.
He's awesome. Oh, but how about my Reds? They beat the Yankees, man. What the hell?
They came from behind and won in the 9th inning, right?
Wow. I'm like, what in the world?
Against Clay Holmes, all right? Didn't they knock out Clay Holmes?
I mean, it's crazy. I'm like, what? I didn't think that they could even win a game. I'm surprised they scored a run.
Shows you what a great game is. The Yankees might win 120 games and get beat in the playoffs.
The Reds opened up the season by beating Atlanta and then went into the tank.
Now,
that would
Atlanta
be
beat the Mets last night. Aren't they like within a game of them or half a game or something?
Game and a half.
Yeah.
Game and a half. Yeah.
And
but they've only picked up one game in the last 10.
Oh, really?
Because
the Mets are just got Scherzer back, and hopefully DeGrom will be back soon. So we'll see. What else is new? What's new in Bloomington? Anything?
No. Kind of quiet.
Hoping to get a visit from Jamie Kaiser. Is that the big name of the week?
That's the latest visitor coming this way. Let me pull that up.
Although TJ Power is now being recruited by Carolina, is that right?
Yeah, but that's no. I mean, all those guys are going to come in. I mean, I'm still shocked that Flory Badunga is not getting more. But I know the Bradley thing. But
Isn't he just a junior though? I thought he was a 24 guy.
He's with Booker, isn't he?
No, he's a year behind, I think.
Oh, I was thinking he was the same year as Booker.
Booker got written up in the New York Times, man.
Man, with Kaiser, I saw that it was Woodson, Rosemond, and Hunter were all watching him the other day. They are pulling out all the stops for that kid.
Yeah.
30 seconds.
Full court press.
Yeah.
They need to get one of those two guys.
It's been a little bit of time since they got a commitment. It's all quiet out there.
980961. Cheryl Sizemore from Remax Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you on this Wednesday, brought to you by our good friends at Bubba's 33 down in Clarksville. If you're down that way, stop in right off of I-65. Pizza, burgers, beer. Joined now by our good friend, the Hall of Famer from WDRB.com, Rick Bozich. How's Rick doing?
Doing good, man. It's a little cooler today. Heading towards the All-Star break. Next week, I'll actually be in Charlotte for ACC Media Day. I'm not sure if I'll be able to join you on Wednesday. Might have to push that back to Friday. But, Griffin Gonzalez, who used to work in Bloomington at IU, he and I are going down to Charlotte for ACC Football Media Day, and Eric Crawford and John Lewis will be in Atlanta for SEC Media Day, which that lasts 2 months. I mean, they have every team there for a week, and it's bigger than the Super Bowl if you've ever been to it.
Yeah, we'll have to get Griffin on here sometime.
Yeah,
Dylan, you know Griffin as well.
Absolutely.
But the ACC. Speaking of the ACC, football, that's kind of, I don't know if they belong in the same sentence, but how many more ACC football media days do you think you'll be going to?
There'll be ACC football media days, I guess, but who's going to be there is the question. And we've all heard the same rumors. I think Louisville would like to remain in the ACC.
Where would Louisville go? I mean, the Big Ten doesn't want them, and the ACC doesn't want them.
You mean SEC? I think they'd like to be in a league that would probably be either the ACC Big 12 hybrid of some kind would be my guess. I don't think it would hurt Louisville if they were in a league that maybe brought in like a Cincinnati or a West Virginia, two Big 12 teams that they used to play against in the Big East and are more geographical rivals. I know that's sort of a antiquated concept to have geographical rivals where fans could actually drive to the away games and actually attend them, like Louisville fans used to love to go to Cincinnati and or West Virginia. But I think that would be a plus for Louisville to get in the league with those teams. And, Cincinnati was in the college football playoff last year, and West Virginia has had some good teams. They haven't been quite as good over the last decade, but you remember, Jim, when they were in the same league with Louisville back in the early 2000s, mid-2000s, those were great games.
Man, they were tough. Absolutely. Always fun. Especially whenever you see a couch getting burnt, baby, it's been a good game.
I'll tell you this. That is the one place I've ever covered a game where when I went on the field, I felt intimidated and slightly unsafe.
Wow.
There was a game where Louisville, it was Petrino, I think it was Petrino's first tenure here, and Louisville blew a big lead and lost in the fourth quarter. And by the fourth quarter, they were pretty juiced up. and yelling the nastiest hostile things, and it was a very ugly scene. And they shoot that, even though it's blanks. They had the dude running around.
Well, you think it's blanks. You don't know where they're going to slip a musket in there.
Like, slow down here, man. We don't need one gunshot's fine, but like the seventh one, man, I'm getting a little nervous.
He's feel like Abe Lincoln, man.
Yeah. And it's a hostile place to play in basketball too. I've gone there
I
for
can
several
imagine.
basketball games. It's a Purdue-like arena, where the noise is like capped in like a mini dome, and when Huggy's there, they get into it, and it's an intimidating place.
I can imagine. I wonder, Dylan and Rick. We know that the Big Ten and the SEC are heading towards being the two premier conferences as far as football goes. But I'm not sold that there's just going to be those two, because there's so many teams out there between the Pac-12 and the Big 12 and the ACC. They're not just going to go away and say, okay, well, you guys are, above us or better than us. They're not just going to leave. So there can't just be two conferences. I'm not sold that's going to be the case, but change is happening. We see that. I don't know where we're going to end up, but Dylan, is it going to be three conferences, or I think possibly four? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of that is obviously the biggest question right now. And the thing is, as much as we're talking about it, we probably won't know for several years here. We have to wait for the Big Ten and the SEC to add the new teams they have to see how it works. We have to see whether they want to end up expanding more. We have to find out what Notre Dame wants to do, because that's going to be something that apparently a lot of people are waiting on to see what that sets in motion. So it's everything's up in the air right now. I think you're having conferences, especially the ACC, Big 12, and Pac-12 or Pac-12, kind of having discussions to see what the future could look like. But I mean, eventually you're going to get to a point where the Big 10 and the SEC just have such a financial advantage that the playing field is going to be so disproportionate that anyone who wants to play big time football, and this is football specific, by the way, this is not basketball because that's a different discussion, but anyone who wants to play big time football is going to need to get into one of those two conferences in order to have a shot.
Rick, what do you think?
It's competition, and the schools that get left behind will be competitive and try and find other ways to elevate themselves and stay in the game. But what I will be looking for is this. I think we're going to reach a point. I think it won't be that far down the road. There are going to be some schools where at the president, chancellor, board of trustees level, they're going to get to the point and they say, enough. We keep spending more and more and more. We keep raising more and more revenue, and our lot in college football is what it's always been. And I mean, I'm throwing out like a Vanderbilt. I mean, where does this road lead to for them, or a Wake Forest or a Boston College, those kind of schools, where I think you're going to see some schools saying, we don't want to be at the top. We're never going to be at the top. We want to be at the second level, and we'll be fine to be competitive and good at the second level. And I think it's going to shake out that way because, it struck home again to me. You get the preseason magazines and it's like, it's 2022 or it's 2012 or whatever. It's, well, guess who's picked to go to the playoff? Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State. And, this year it's Utah. There's usually one flavor of the week school, but, don't forget Clemson or don't forget Texas A&M or whatever. There's a level of schools that no matter what they do, we never see any change in college football. It's the same teams.
How long before Notre Dame joins a conference? And now with the Big Ten being the natural fit for them, but that doesn't mean anything. But if they were to join the Big Ten, they increase their revenue threefold. Everybody thinks they're making so much money. They're not compared to Big Ten teams, and especially what Big Ten teams are going to be making off of this next TV deal, which is going to be expected to be around $100 million. I think Notre Dame's deal is about $33 million or something like that.
Right.
So I don't know what they're waiting on, because this being independent and flexibility, some of their opponents are already Big Ten schools as it is, and So I don't know what they're waiting on and what they think that they're going to benefit by not joining. I just think that eventually they're going to have to join.
I think it's hard for us to evaluate or put a value on how they value their independence there because they've had it for so long. I'm old enough to remember when Notre Dame wouldn't play in bowl games. I mean, they were late to the table of playing in bowl games.
Wow, I did not know that.
Till 1973.
Right. Yeah. And
I did not know that.
I'm not sure, that Jack Swarbrick, who's nearing his end of his tenure as their athletic director, wants to have his legacy being the guy that they joined the Big Ten. Because when you join the Big Ten, then you become, in many ways, just another Midwestern school. And you're probably going to come in the shadow of Ohio State and be at the same level of what, Penn State or Michigan. I mean, you're not going to be the big dog. Ohio State is the big dog in the Big Ten. And as long as they're an independent, Notre Dame, I don't know if they can put a price tag on their independence and their, quote, mystique.
Perception. It's perception is reality, people.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the thing with you talk about the money and how much they're going to be behind, and that's absolutely true. The money is going to be ridiculous for the Big Ten in their next TV deal, and they're going to so far outpace Notre Dame. But the problem is Notre Dame is already way behind, but they are a fundraising machine, and so they bring in so much money from outside sources, and they feel like they can keep up regardless of how much money they're behind in terms of the TV deal. So. And they love having the NBC deal, which is exclusive to them, where they're on national TV every home game. And so those are things that they have to measure because they've talked about this before, and they've said, look, as long as we have a media rights deal that is good for us, and we have a path to the national championship, we're going to be independent. And they've kind of stuck with that. And I'm sure they're listening right now. I'm sure the money is so huge that they have to think about it. But I think they can afford to wait it out and see how this next TV deal goes for the Big Ten.
And I'll also say this. One, look across their entire athletic department. I mean, the football team has made a few playoffs under Brian Kelly. Marcus Freeman now has got either the first, second, or third best recruiting class in the country coming in. Okay, so they are who they are in football. The women's basketball program won a national title a few years ago. They've been a little bit down since Buffett McGraw left, but they're on the way back. The men's baseball team just went to the College World Series. Mike Bray hasn't been great. He's been okay, but I mean, they made the tournament this year and won a couple of games. I mean, they have a feeling like they are the one school that can do it alone. And when they give that up, that would be an issue for them. And so I don't think it'll be a decision they would make quickly because, and plus academically, they view themselves as being a cut above the rest of the Big Ten schools. They do. And I don't know whether their alumni would say, we don't, those are good schools, but we don't really want to be a league in with them. And they look at how they've gotten away with it in the ACC. In 2020, they had the least bargaining power possible, and the ACC folded and let them play for the conference championship so they could be eligible for the playoff. So they're used to getting their way.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, Rick, is that the ACC really wants Notre Dame to join, but the ACC had the leverage in 2020 to make it happen if they wanted to, and they didn't press it as hard as they probably should have, and that was it for Notre Dame joining the ACC. They'll never join the ACC as a full member now.
They're done. And Notre Dame is the only northern-based school that can teach a coach that's been there 10 years a southern accent.
Well, so far they've kept their base. I mean, Michigan lost its baseball coach to Clemson, and Notre Dame's baseball coach, he's still there, right? I mean, he went to the College World Series. They beat number 1 Tennessee. I mean, they didn't lose their coach, right?
No, he left to go take the Florida State job.
Oh, he did go back to Florida State. Okay,
yeah, because he's no longer.
Well, that's his alma mater, right?
It is his alma mater, yes.
Okay.
So it was one of those things where the season ended, they got eliminated from the World Series, and then immediately the rumors started, and he didn't want to address them right away, but it became pretty obvious that Florida State was where he wanted to be, and so I think they just hired a new coach just the other day. Okay. And his name is escaping me, but yeah, the Link Jarrett is now at Florida State.
FSU.
Well, how about Michigan? Michigan's baseball coach.
Yeah, Tracy Smith.
Yeah, the former Indiana coach that took the Hoosiers to the College World Series back in 2015, back in the Big Ten, and he'll be facing the Hoosiers when they come around.
Found Kyle Schwarber, National League All-Star Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah, his second
national
All-Star
TV the other day, giving out shout-outs to IU baseball. How was the best thing that happened to his career? How about that?
It was all, yeah, I saw that. It was incredible. And Schwarber's having a great, he's just been fun. He's a fun player to watch. He's a fan favorite wherever he goes, but I guess anybody that hits big bombs is always a favorite wherever you go. But yeah, he's a fun dude to have around. Baseball, Indiana's got some young talent. They had 3 All-Americans, freshman All-Americans, I think.
Yeah.
That's kind of rare for a team up north like that, to have that youth. And so they're going to be good next year and really good the year after that.
If they get some pitching, they need some pitching badly.
Yeah.
I know at least 2 of them are in-state kids. One, I think, is from like Greene County, and the other one's from up by Fort Wayne, I believe, right?
Carter Matheson's from Homestead. He set the IU freshman record for home runs. He had 16 home runs this year. Kyle Schwarber only had 8 as a freshman. So,
there you go. Outfielder, right?
Yeah. Good arm, too. He pitched in high school a little bit.
Those guys are tearing it up. Rick's latest piece you had out about a guy from Louisville, Will Smith, with the Dodgers. You talk about the All-Star break coming up. In his connection. Is he a player?
Will Smith? Yeah, he's a catcher.
Oh, the catcher for the Dodgers.
He's actually one of the best catchers in the National League. He should have been on the All-Star team. He's got more RBIs than any catcher in the National League, and he bats cleanup for the Dodgers. This is his 3rd full season. He's been up in the majors now. He came up in 2019, but former first-round pick, sandwiched around to the Dodgers, and he's a really good player.
Who in the world? He's on the best team in the one of the best teams in the National League. Who's the catcher on the National League All-Star team?
Wilson Contreras.
Right.
From
Cubs catcher. Cubs.
Yeah.
And then the backup, I believe, is Travis d'Arnaud of the Braves, I believe. And then Contreras' brother is the DH, I think.
The Dodgers just have too many people on the All-Star team?
They have 4.
Probably, yes.
The problem is, every team has to have one dude. So
I was going to say, man, I was like, they must have too many on there. You get beat out by a Cub. They suck. They're like the Reds.
Contreras was voted in by the fans.
Yeah. Contreras is having as a Cubs fan, I know this. He's having a career year. He's the one bright spot on that team, and he's almost certainly going to get traded at the deadline.
Rick, what's next for you, my friend?
The next thing really is ACC Football Media Day. It'll be interesting to go down there and hear what Commissioner Jim Phillips has to say about the future of the league. Be down to see, who else besides Clemson is going to be a threat in the ACC this year, and whether Clemson's going to bounce back, because last year they kind of backslid without Trevor Lawrence. They weren't nearly as good, and he's lost both of his coordinators. I'm pretty sure his offensive coordinator went to Virginia, maybe. Yeah. Tony Elliott, and his defensive coordinator Brent Venables went to Oklahoma. So it's a transition year for Clemson, and then Louisville. How are they going to be as they move into Scott Satterfield's 4th year and coming off back-to-back losing seasons?
Could be relevant to Purdue up here if Louisville doesn't have a good season and Satterfield gets let go. I find it hard to believe Jeff Brom would turn down Louisville a second time.
He won't, because they won't make the same mistake that they made last time, I don't think, either. Plus, it's the timing. Rick knows more than anybody. He's closer to that situation. I think that was about timing, and I was impressed with Jeff Brom. Jeff's a great guy, but I think I believe him when he said that it was about timing, and he thought it was too soon.
Right.
And I believe him. I really do, because it's hard for someone. He has no allegiance to the entire state of Indiana in any way. So to stay at a place like that, there's no other reason. So I absolutely believe him, but I agree with you.
That was one of the interesting stories of the week, and I was going to ask you guys if you have any insight into it. That I think I saw, whether it was Sunday or Monday, that Samson James is already leaving Purdue, and he didn't even play there. What's the backstory on that?
No idea. He has bounced in and out. This is a guy that Didn't he committed to Ohio State originally,
Right.
correct? Committed to Ohio
Four-star
State, then
Yeah.
goes to IU, then he's in the portal, then he's out of the portal, then he's back in the portal, then he goes to Purdue, now he's in the portal. You have to, I don't know, but man, it would lend you to think that this is a guy who doesn't know what he wants.
Well, it's also interesting because the last year he entered the portal in August and he got to Purdue, and obviously that's way past the deadline, so he couldn't play. This year he didn't enter the portal until the middle of July, so he might not be able to play again wherever he goes for his new school. It doesn't make any sense really to me that he would wait until this time. If you're going to go in May.
Sounds like a guy getting bad advice from somebody.
Yeah,
and it also raises questions about Purdue's offense because wasn't it announced at the end of spring practice that Milton Wright was one of their top returning receivers, who's actually from Louisville, wasn't back anymore because of, I think he was academically ineligible. So
they haven't officially announced that, but that's the reporting. Yeah. And so, yeah, it's tough because, I mean, Purdue brought in a couple transfers from Iowa,
Right.
wide receiver and a running back, and they had some running backs available. Samson James would not have been the presumptive starter, I don't think, but it's just not good that happened at this point.
And Purdue out of the blocks, I think, on Thursday night of opening week against Penn State, correct? Huge game in West Lafayette.
Yeah.
And then you guys have got the Wagner commitment coming up between Louisville and Kentucky. Of course, that's leaning towards Kentucky. It seems
back towards leaning towards Kentucky this week. I don't know who's putting that out and who knows well enough to say which way he's leaning because the kid just got back from Spain where he played on the USA basketball team in the 17 and under competition where they won, and then he's headed to Peach Jam, which starts, I think, this weekend down in Georgia.
The 17th.
Right.
4 days, 4 days from now.
What's the latest on this wide receiver from Air Force or something that was considering Indiana? Is that anything happened on that?
Is that the kid that came for a visit?
I don't know. I just saw over the weekend there was a kid who started at Air Force at wide receiver who was considering Indiana as a transfer option.
I've not seen anything move forward on that, but I will check with our football writers and see where that lies. I haven't seen anything more on that or heard anything more on that. Football, they're keeping football locked down.
Yeah.
Other than the news that they are releasing, they are keeping it locked down. And I'm like, all right, whatever.
I was going to say, I wonder how much access we're going to get during fall camp because we didn't get any during spring practice.
I don't think you'll get any access to any live hitting at all.
That's nuts to me. I mean,
last year they ran a lot of offense inside the indoor facility.
Yeah.
Well, we were outside where we couldn't see. So
they
did that last
year. I think after what they went through last year, I think after bringing in 2 new coordinators, I think they're not willing to get. Illinois plays 1 game before they play Indiana, and Indiana doesn't play any. I don't think they want Bielema and the Illini to have anything at all on Indiana. That's
absolutely, because that's going to be a tough start playing a conference opponent that has already had a game. It's absolutely a must win.
If you're going to go to a bowl game, it's a must win because it's a home game against one of the teams from the West that's in the bottom half of the West, and you're trying to change the vibe from last season of how disappointing it was. That's a game, in my opinion, they have to win to have it to think they're going to have a successful year.
And it's interesting because the media might get to that Illinois game without having seen Connor Bazelak take a single snap in an IU uniform. That's wild.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Rick Bozich, make sure you give him a follow at WDRB.com. Appreciate him so much. We look forward to each and every week, brother. Have a great week and rest of your weekend.
All right. We'll work it out for next week because we'll probably have to move it to. I'm leaving for Charlotte on Tuesday morning. It may have to be Friday.
Tell my family you said hello.
Okay.
They live down there.
You live in Charlotte?
My dad lives in Harrisburg. My brother's in Concord over by the track. They moved down there when I was in high school.
Okay. I'll do that. I see him.
Well, don't get pulled over by my brother. He's a state trooper.
If they'll be at a White Sox AAA game Tuesday night, I'll definitely see him.
Absolutely. Rick Bozich, appreciate you, brother. As always,
right.
have a great week. We've got more Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming up. Dylan Sinn. Back right after this. Brought to you by BB's Market, part of the WOW Network. BB's Market is your local meat shop, steakhouse, and caterer, no matter where you live, with some of the best custom meats around. Visit bbsmarket.com and get online ordering. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
The sun is out, the birds are chirping, and the fairways. What do you have coming up next, Dylan?
Not a whole lot here. We have I have baseball this week. I have some stuff on IU next week, and then just kind of getting into football season here. We're rolling here.
Does Indiana have a clear number one at quarterback? I think they do, but that's not because I know.
No, they kept it tight in spring. It seemed like it was Tuttle or Basilek. I don't think McCauley might redshirt this year. It'd be interesting kind of career path would be.
McCauley's been moved to wide receiver.
Oh, okay.
You didn't see that?
I might have missed that.
Well, see, that's another thing. I knew that's something that I knew. People always say, well, you can't keep a secret in your media. I'm like, well, if you only knew half the stuff I know and didn't say, I knew about that for a long time, that they had moved him to wide receiver, but I didn't say anything because I wasn't supposed to. Found out the person I found out from, I was all right, I'm not going to say anything because that, but Don Fisher said it on a radio show. They weren't happy about it. I heard.
Oh, really?
IU football was not happy about that.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just funny. But I think it's I think it's crazy. Right. I just don't think Jack Tuttle's a starter. I think he's had his opportunities and he's a good backup. I think he's a good backup.
Well, I'd like to see him get a shot in a better offensive system. I don't know if
and maybe with an offensive line would probably help.
Yes, that was the thing. Because the thing is, the couple times that he's been in there when Penix was hurt, it was like, well, he's running for his life or he's hurt himself. So I think Basilek is probably the guy, but I used multiple quarterbacks for a couple of years in a row here, so I wouldn't be surprised if Tuttle's in there at some point.
If Basilek is successful, Tuttle's not going to be in there. He doesn't bring anything. He doesn't bring anything. He can't run.
Absolutely. No, it's more. I mean, if that offensive line, if Basilek gets hurt.
If he gets hurt, yes, and that's very possible.
Yes. No. Yeah. So
CRVs, HRVs, and pilots. See dealer for financing deals. Andy Moore Honda, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Courtroom Sports Grill in Bedford. Now
welcome back.
Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Jumped the gun a little bit there. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Wednesday. Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette with me. Jim Coyle with you as always. Brought to you by Courtroom Sports Grill down in Bedford. Part of the WOW Network, of course. Prides itself on providing their guests with fresh, innovative dishes designed to please their palate and your wallet. Every item on their menu is made from scratch using the freshest ingredients. Sign up for the WOW Club and start earning WOW rewards today. Dylan Sinn. Speaking of football, well, let's keep talking about football, and we got a few questions. Dave G asked if Indiana has a clear #1 at quarterback. Not announced, but I am pretty convinced that Basilek is going to be the starter, that he's going to be QB1 for Indiana. I was talking with Dylan in the break that Tuttle is he's a good quarterback, but I think he's just a good backup. But Dylan made a good point that he'd like to see him not have to run for his life, which is a great point because, well, we haven't seen him behind an offensive line that can block because IU hasn't had one that can block for a few years. So it's kind of unfair on Tuttle a little bit. And I'll acknowledge that. But at the same time, I say that a great quarterback shines no matter what. He's going to find a way to do stuff. Maybe that's not fair, but we'll see. But to answer the question, I think Bazelak is going to be the guy.
Yeah, that would be my guess too. He's younger. He's played high level football in the past, and he's had success. He had significant success at Mizzou. Obviously, his freshman season was a little bit better than his second year, but he's had success before, and so IU wants a guy who comes in with that experience. And he seems like a good quarterback. Now the question is, does IU have the line and the running game and the receivers to help him out? We don't know about that. With bringing in Sean Shivers was helpful. Bringing in some of the receivers they got, Emery Simmons and others, was helpful. Is the line any good? We have no idea. That's kind of the number one concern here, and it has been for the last several years, is can you protect the guy behind center? Because otherwise you're going to have to go through Bazelak and then Tuttle and then maybe someone else, like what happened last year.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to compete at all, I think you have to start putting a bigger emphasis on the line. I think if you have I think the offensive line is more important than some of the other positions that they put more emphasis on. Because if you don't have an offensive line, you can't run and you can't throw. So I don't care how good your running back is. If you're going to open the hole, man, doesn't much matter. If you're not going to give the quarterback time to throw, doesn't much matter. So Indiana has to put a bigger emphasis on offensive line. Period. End of story. And until they do that, things are just not going to change. But the worst thing for Indiana is until they start getting guys from the state of Indiana, if there is a big-time lineman from Indiana, I promise you, he is not coming to Indiana. And I'm not saying that I don't understand that, but Indiana's got to do something to change that, whatever that is. I don't care what it is. Is that to offer the biggest NIL deal to a lineman instead of a quarterback? Whatever it takes. If you truly want to change the football program, you're going to have to make changes, because whatever you've been doing, it ain't working, folks. It ain't working. So that's my take on Indiana football.
Yeah, I think I mean, to me, the most concerning thing with the offensive line is not that they didn't get any kids from IU, or from Indiana, which is true. That's not a place where linemen are going. Although we do have some guys from Fort Wayne up here that are down at IU, several of them on the offensive line. We got Randy Holtz from Snyder and Luke Wigginton from Bishop Dwenger and those guys. Vinny Fiacopoli, who's also from Dwenger. So got some guys. Fort Wayne offensive line, it's coming. But they also didn't get any guys out of the portal on the offensive line. One guy out of the portal. Shocked me. I'm like, are you kidding me? At least plug some holes until the younger guys that you have recruited over these last couple of years, when you've been more successful, can get there, because the older guys are not getting it done, clearly.
Well, that tells me another thing. Who recruits the offensive line? The same person that coaches the offensive line? Damn, I see a hell of a problem here, because neither the coaching or the recruiting is up to par. I'm sorry, but that's just, it is what it is.
I guess what they're hoping,
it's killing that program.
They have DJ Moore coming in from another Fort Wayne guy from Snyder. He is 6'5", 315 pounds, coming in on the line this year. Was a borderline 4-star recruit there. I guess they're hoping he can contribute immediately, because otherwise I don't know how you don't go out and get anyone from the portal. They
have the guys. It's just the crown jewels. They just don't get that one guy that's, that one level up. They're going to go to Ohio State or wherever they're going to go to. It seems that time after time, but until they can shore up the offensive line, I just don't think the IU football program is going to have any changes. I don't care what else you do. You got to change there. And we'll see. That allegiance to Darren Hiller, the offensive line coach, We'll see how that turns out after the season, because if they have another problematic season, I don't see how he survives, because the rain coming down on Tom Allen, although he's contracted in, will start getting much, much heavier.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. And that's the thing. If IU has another unsuccessful season this year, they already cleaned house on the offensive side, except for the offensive line coach. And so I think that is something. Well, they didn't really clean house. They got rid of the offensive coordinator. The running backs coach left on his own. And so I think the next place to look would be the offensive line. And so if there is another unsuccessful season this year, Tom Allen is going to come under pressure to make sure that changes are made. And that would probably be one of the places to look. I mean, unless the line is great and everywhere else struggles, that would be one of the places to look.
Ohio State, currently, I think, the number one recruiting class in all of college football. Is that right?
Yes, they recently passed Notre Dame. And so they are number one, and Notre Dame is now number two.
And, we were talking about Notre Dame earlier. Here they are, though, with top. We'll give them a tie. A top recruiting class in the country.
Yes.
And that's without belonging to a conference. And
right. They currently have the number one class in 2024 as well.
So they're like, whatever. He goes, people are going to want to play us.
Yeah.
So they're not going to have problems finding games. They have a schedule laid out.
No, absolutely.
And as long as they continue, and maybe they're fine making less money. I don't know why, but I just don't see that it gains them anything. That independence. What does it gain them? Because every other sport is in a conference.
Yeah.
Hell, one of their teams is in the Big Ten. I forget
the hockey team.
Is it hockey? Yeah. And then they've got every other team is in the ACC, right?
Yeah.
Except minus football. So,
right.
What are they really losing?
Yeah, it's pretty much what Rick said is what they feel is that if you join a conference, you're now just one team among the whole conference. And they like being the team that when you think of college football, one of the things you think of is Notre Dame, and they wonder if that would change if they joined a conference. I don't know if that would or not. I don't know how much that perception actually matters, but it matters to them. And they feel like they're doing just fine in terms of money. They have all the money they need. Now, Brian Kelly left in part because he didn't think their facilities were up to par. It's very clear that is the case. And
do they even have an indoor practice facility at Notre Dame?
They opened an indoor practice facility in 2019. And that was it was expensive. It's not the kind of football palace that you have at some of these other schools. Now, Notre Dame, that's on purpose. They don't want, because the whole point of these football palaces at other schools at Georgia, at Ohio State, at Alabama, is you want them to be in the facility all day.
Yeah, and you're also showing that off. Hey, come here because we have this. Notre Dame saying, come here because we're Notre Dame.
Right. But Notre Dame, their thing is they don't want people at the facility all day. They want their football players to interact with the student body. They want their football players to be as part of the student body. And that's different from a lot of the other programs.
When they redid their stadium, a big part of that was they put in a bunch of classroom type
you can have
around the stadium.
Class at Notre Dame Stadium now, yeah. And so they walk the walk on a lot of the academic stuff. And to Brian Kelly's frustration, quite frankly, I wonder if Marcus Freeman is going to have similar frustrations at some point here over the next several years, because there are times where they say, no, we're not going to let this kid in because his grades aren't up to par. It's just how it is. And so it's hurt them in the past in terms of recruiting, and we'll see whether Freeman can overcome that.
It'll be interesting, but they are certainly and they are. It is different. I mean, if you haven't been there, you don't get, when you go to a football game at Notre Dame, they treat it like you are visiting the Palace of Versailles, like you're visiting this tourist attraction. They have people all over the place. Welcome to Notre Dame. Welcome to Notre Dame. Can I help you? Welcome to Notre Dame. Guide you. Everything is open. The chapel. What is the? Daggone it. The church?
The Golden Dome essentially is what everyone's thinking of.
St. Mary's or something. I forget the actual name of their church there, but all the grotto, not the same grotto that's at the Playboy Mansion, but all that stuff is open. The Joyce Convocation Center where they play basketball, open. I didn't realize that when I was up there. I didn't go in.
You kind of walk around. Yeah, go ahead, it's fine.
The pep band comes in and plays in. There's another area. I took my daughter up when they once for a game, and I'd been there before, but I was in the media, so I didn't get to experience that.
Right.
And it's funny the stuff you don't experience when you're in the media because you got to go work. But I was like, wow, this is so cool. So I got to experience that. It was fun. I had a great time. So but it is like they treat it like a cathedral, man. They absolutely do. We'll see how much longer Leo will last. But what's coming up next for you, brother?
Yep, as I said earlier, I am in the middle of baseball season right now. So the Fort Wayne Tin Caps are fighting for a playoff spot here down the stretch of the season. And then next week, I will get into Big Ten Media Day preview stuff and start looking really at football and looking at how that is going to shake out. And one thing I wanted to point out is I haven't been on since this happened. IU is playing an exhibition game in basketball this year against St. Francis, which is the NAIA university from up here in Fort Wayne, and that the Damon Bailey's son plays for St. Francis. So that is coming up on November 3rd in Bloomington. Everyone get your tickets now. That's happening.
That is cool to know. Thank you for that info, my brother. We appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing you again next week.
Absolutely, Jim. Looking forward to it.
Dylan Sinn, Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette. Make sure you give him a follow and read everything he puts out because it's good. Appreciate everybody today on the program. Kyle Neddenriep, Rick Bozich, of course, as well, and Joe, the producer. Most importantly, thanks to you guys. Without you, there's no reason for us to be here. We're back tomorrow to do it all again. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.